Hey everyone, welcome to Tech Tuesdays, 3 o'clock. Every Tuesday at 3 o'clock I do Tech Tuesday. Today I'm going to be continuing on a series that I'm doing on fiber diagnostics. I've been showing our TruVizion Diagnostics product. It's actually TruVizion Broadband Diagnostics because it supports DOCSIS networks as well as fiber networks. And there's obviously more and more fiber that people are deploying now, plus even cable operators are deploying fiber, tend to be doing that in greenfield opportunities rather than doing a rip and replace for right now. But even cable operators, a lot of them now are doing fiber deployments. So we've got TruVizion, which handles DOCSIS and fiber diagnostics in the same pane of glass in the same application. So I'm going to show that again today. I'll be right back. Thanks for joining me. So today, again, continuing on TruVizion Fiber Diagnostics. So here we are looking at the OLT screen. I showed the ONT screen a little bit last time, I think the time before as well, and I'll show that again in the future. I'll go more in detail into that. But today I'm looking at the OLT information. Last week I covered these two panels up on top here. These are your downstream and upstream statistics for different PON ports that you've got. And just a quick review on what, because this is always, people are unclear about this, on what these colors mean and these numbers mean. So basically what we're looking at here is each PON port, and then we can see if there are any issues for any devices on those ports. So for example, on this particular port here, we have no devices that are experiencing a receive error, no video errors, no voice errors, no data errors. And then up at the top here, this device, we've got 2 receive errors, we've got 7 video errors, no voice issues, and 3 data issues, 3 devices with the data issues. And then here in these couple, we've got some voice as well. There's 1 on each of these. So, and then what do the colors mean? So because there's only 2 devices on here, this is port 111. So on that port, we've got 16 devices that are online, and out of that, 2 of them are experiencing issues. So we don't color code that with yellow or red because the percentage of devices on that port have not gotten to a threshold level. On this one here, as far as video goes, you can see we've got 7. So because there are 7 devices out of 16 that are experiencing a video issue, then that we see as significant, and that's actually an alert level. And then this yellow here, these up at the top are totals. So again, on this on all the ports together, it looks like I got a total of 37 devices online, and out of that, 13 of them are having some kind of an issue on video. So you can see that because it's 13 out of 37, then again, that's significant, and we have that in a warning stage. And then over here on the side, we've got our totals of devices as well. So that's what those ports are. We've got that for both the downstream and the upstream. So I looked at that last week. And then the other thing I showed last week is you can click on any of these. So if I want to see who the 7 devices and subscribers are that are making up those video errors, I can click on that. That'll give me a list of subscribers. I'm not going to do that today because today I'm actually looking at the real, well, it's a real OLT real OLT last week I was looking at, but I was looking at our development instance. So we had some fake names and addresses on a few of those. In this case, these are the real folks. So I don't want to click on these 7 people because you'll see real names and addresses, so I'm not going to do that. But you can see those real folks, a list of them, you can see what's going on with them, and then you can click a map icon and map them all on a map. So that's very nice. You can see all the devices that are experiencing that specific issue, all the video issues, or if you clicked on these 2, you'd see those 2 subscribers and see just those subscribers and details about them. And again, you can map and see where they are in relation to each other, which is nice. Today I'm going to be looking at this panel. And I also want to show, I didn't show it last week, is that you can drill in on any of these ports and get some historical information about those. So I'm going to show those 2 things this week. So PON status, what I'm looking at, this is the OLT basically that I'm looking at, and I'm looking at the SFPs, or the small form factor pluggable units that have the lasers in them that plug into the OLT. And I'm looking at the 4 ports here that I've got, and there's not much on here, but it is very helpful. So I can see that they're all enabled. Then I can see the temperature of those lasers, and then I can see the transmit power that's going on right here. And I don't see, this would be color coded like this is if these were out of spec, if they were past some threshold. So I don't see any issue at all here. and they're all, looks like they're in the 50s, anywhere from 53 to 59 or so on the temperature. And you know, this is important to watch because these lasers can get hot over time. If you start to see that heat creeping up over time, then that's something that you go, oh, it looks like I've got a problem developing here, and then maybe you can schedule some maintenance to take a look at that. Maybe swap out that SFP before it causes some downtime on a unplanned outage. So that's helpful there. You can also see the transmit power, and again, you would get any alerts if these numbers were out of spec as far as thresholds go. So these would turn either yellow or red, and we do that. We make it fairly clear. We highlight the whole thing like this, so it's like, oh, I got an issue right here, just like you can see right here. So again, no problems with that. So again, since that didn't take long, I also wanted to drill in on these different, just to show you what happens when you drill in on a port. So that this can be done on anywhere in the application. So I could do it here, you know, here, wherever I see a port identifier, I can just click that, and that's going to open up historical information about that port. So right now, when we do that, we default to 24 hours. You can see 24 hours is automatically defaulted and selected up here. And here what I'm looking at is basically those top two panels showing me, again, the counts of modems for each of these different parameters and how many are involved. So again, I'm looking at this and I see I've got two that have upstream issues, two that transmit issues, two that have upstream receive issues, two that have downstream receive issues. I've got 7 video issues, 0 voice, and 3 data. And you can look at those, and you can look at them over time. And again, this is 24 hours, so everything was pretty consistent, although we did have a drop down here where we went from, like, I've got 7 video issues, that dropped down to 3, I went down to 1 on a couple of these things, and then bumped back up again, and you can see the dates changing here as I move this. So this is May 24th at midnight, and then down here, low point here was May 24th at 10:45. So again, I can see what's going on any of those. I've got this down here is where I've got my upstream and downstream bandwidth. I'm going to show that next week, that you can see the bandwidth on each port, which is really nice, and then you can drill in on that and see all the subscribers making up those bandwidth numbers. So you can see, if you're familiar with fiber diagnostics, that this is much more user-friendly and useful information for people, all kinds of people across the organization. A lot of times you don't get historical information, you don't get nice charts, you can't see down to the subscriber level, which we can see. Again, we can pull up a subscriber's ONT and see all kinds of stats about them that I'll show again in a future broadcast. But right here I've got upstream bandwidth, and I can see how that's been changing over this 24-hour period. And when it's changing, I can see downstream bandwidth. You can see any peaks like that. Here I've got temperature that we were just looking at, but this is the historical over the day. And you can see the slight trending upwards, and then a really big jump there. Let's see, that's May 24th. So yeah, this is the most recent polling period. So right there, it looks like it's jumped up a bit. And we could see what would happen. I don't have a live on this. On some of our charts, we have live where you can actually watch stuff stream in, but this wouldn't be that kind of a good chart. So. And then down here, I've got my online status, so you can look at that over the last 24 hours. Obviously, I've got online, most of them, so I can uncheck right here the online status so that I can see a little bit more what's going on here with offline. Got offline, attempting, got any, what is that, alarms, and then degraded and unauthorized. So you can see the different levels there. So I can uncheck any of these if I want to get a clearer look at anything. We have no, we do have some alarms there. What do we got? And then you can scroll over and see that. So I've got, you can see my numbers. I've got alarms 3, pretty consistent across the board there with those alarms. And then you've got some other things going kind of up and down there. Then I've got my transmit power. I can look at that over time. And then PON performance. These are errors. And a lot of times you don't see a whole lot going on here. Fiber's pretty reliable. You don't get a lot of errors. There's not like cable where you might be watching code word errors up and down as you've got some RF issues. So we don't see much of that going on generally. But I can also, so I'm looking at 24 hours. I can, just by a click of a radio button right here, I can look at 7 days, and you can see, you start to see a little bit more variability in here as I look further out, because things obviously over time, you're going to see things change a little bit more. So I can see again some dips in the number of devices that are being impacted by issues. And it kind of goes down and then kind of goes back up to, you can see here over this time frame, I had 16 devices with upstream receive and transmit power and downstream receive transmit power. So that's been changing over time. And then here's the most recent figures over here. So you can see that's been dropping down again. So we kind of got these valleys that are happening here. Then I've got my, again, online status. You can see that change. There we go. I'll take that off again. Yeah, you can see that change a little bit over time. We've got our transmit power getting bumped up right around here. And then we've got, we did have one point here where we had one BIP error, one downstream BIP error. So again, looking at that over time. And you can also look at 30 days and 90 days. I'll click on those real quick. You can see again, you see more instances of things here. It's interesting that my temperature seems to be trending down. So over this time, it's been trending down. There's a bump up right there, but going down. I've got a few more instances where I'm seeing some errors that popped in. There's nothing, there's nothing to be concerned about here. But obviously, if you have some kind of issue on the fiber plant, this is going to be very useful for you because you can see when did it start? Is it getting worse? Is it getting better? Those kinds of things. And of course, that main screen that I was looking at will alert you to those stuff as it's happening in real time. And then I was going to show 30 days, or excuse me, 90 days. So I go way out here to 90 days, and we collect all of that data. And it's going to take a moment to load it because it is a lot of stuff coming in right there. And again, I see my temperature for the most part, other than some ups and downs, it does seem to be kind of trending downward. My bandwidth has been pretty consistent, although I've had some higher peaks more recently. I've got, same on the upstream, I had a couple of high peaks. My transmit power has kind of been up and down, as you might expect. And again, you've got your errors as they happen to show up different times here. And then way back here, I had, looks like I had a number of unauthorized modems at this point for some reason. And then that was taken care of right there. So I'm not sure what that's about. And you can drill in on any of these charts. You can drill in to get a more granular view. So if I'm looking at 90 days here, I can, let's say I want to look at this period right here, what was going on. I can drag my mouse right there. And that's going to adjust all of my charts for that period. And it's interesting that I do see right here, so you can correlate these things, which is really very helpful. So I can see, obviously, this portion of the chart right here, it looks very different from this portion of the chart right here. I've actually got fewer issues over here. And this is, let's see, that's March 3rd at midnight, approximately. I bet this is March 3rd at about midnight. Yeah, so it's close, yeah, close. For some reason, that is about right. Whoops, I just clicked on that chart. Not sure what that's going to do. Did that by mistake. Click back here. And I'm going to have to go back in there. This is the one I was looking at, right? So let's look again at 90 days. And I was going to dragging into here. So again, right here I'm looking at, looks like March 3rd at midnight, and I get that big drop in unauthorized modems, and that's about the time that, for some reason, these numbers go up. What does that mean? I don't know. Somebody who's more experienced at the fiber plant might know that. So again, a lot of times you can correlate, and especially you might see some things going on, and you'll notice there were some errors that popped up at that particular time, but there were no errors going on at this particular moment. And by the way, up here you can see whenever you do drill on that, it tells you what you're looking at. So I am looking at February 23rd to March 7th, as I believe. Yeah, that's what that time period is. And you can also look at it down here on the charts. So again, I've got that. I can uncheck stuff down here if I needed to, if I wanted to look at something in particular, especially as you see these charts are going to adjust as I take off, for example, upstream transmit power, upstream receive power. Actually, not much is happening. Yeah, there we go. So I'm just taking stuff off. That doesn't do much. A lot of times unchecking will help you. Again, in this situation now, if I take off my online modems, I then get I can see this a little bit more clearly, so I can see what's going on here. So again, I've got, if I'm looking at this number, as I'm here, my unauthorized is 136 devices, and then bam, drops down to 22. So that could have been the service provider cleaning up devices that maybe were still on the plant, basically, or maybe they were still out in the plant and they had not collected them. I'm not sure exactly what that is. So I'm going to go back now to the screen here. So what I was doing right there is I click on any port and I can click on that from any place. I'll just click another one from another place. Let's take a look at, we were just looking at that one. Let's take a look at this one that's got a few errors on it, or a few warnings. So I'm looking at another one now. And this again is defaults to 7 days. I can see that I've got, or excuse me, 24 hours. I can see that I had is this a BIP error here? That color is downstream BIP. Had one right there, so nothing major. Looks like this is very, very flat. I can look at my bandwidth here, so there's nothing much going on in the last 24 hours. Let's check 30 days. And I see again, what I find interesting is that temperature over time has been trending down. Bandwidth's been fairly consistent up and down, but I don't see any major things there. I've got this big dip here in transmit power around this time frame. Again, I can just drag and look at that a little bit more closely, and I can see if anything was going on that might somehow have related to that. I don't see that necessarily. This is May 11th at 10 o'clock. Let's see, this right here is May 12th. This is May 13th. This is all probably happening maybe around this time. So I had a temperature, a big bump in temperature right here on that particular port. So again, these are things you can look at real time, pretty much real time, as you look at the summary screen, or you can drill in and look at the historical information. So next week, I will take a look at these bandwidth boxes right here. Again, this is something that I think is very unique to our tool compared to if you just had a element management system that comes with your fiber equipment. It's usually, if you do get that, it's usually just for that fiber equipment. We support Adtran, Calix, Nokia, some other, I think an old Aurora platform, some other things that we have where we've got customers in the field that have got some things like that. So we go out and we support those, and then we can support that for you as well in that case. And you can see here, I can see, again, unusual that I can see very quickly if I've got any bandwidth, and this would change, these would change colors if these hit a threshold. So this would turn from green to yellow to red, depending on how much bandwidth I'm using based on what I have and what my thresholds are. So that would tip me off right away that I've got an issue. Again, what I'm going to show next week is that I can drill in on that and see all the subscribers that make up that particular bandwidth. And next week I'll switch back to my development platform so I can click on that and you can see some data, and I can have a few fake names in there. If I clicked on it now, again, it'd be showing people that are real people at real addresses, which I do not want to do. So, all right, that's all for today on TruVizion Fiber and Tech Tuesday. So thanks for joining me, and I will be back next week again with that information. If you're not subscribed, click the subscribe button, click the little bell to be notified on your phone or on your desktop whenever I'm live. And if this was helpful for you, go ahead and give me a like on the video. Tomorrow I'll be back with broadband deployment news at some point during the day. So I will see you then. Again, if you click the bell, you'll be notified when I'm live. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.